Imagine a country where the walls have eyes, and the air itself whispers your secrets to the regime. A place where even your own thoughts can betray you. Where one wrong glance, one forbidden song, one whispered dream about the outside world can destroy not just you, but everyone you have ever loved. This is North Korea, the most isolated, the most brutal, the most terrifying dictatorship on the face of the earth. Here, loyalty is not a choice. It is a death sentence if you fail the test. And today I am going to tell you two true, shocking, heart-wrenching stories of men who faced the ultimate impossible decision. Serve the dictatorship with blood on your hands, or risk everything to save your family and choose freedom. These are not Hollywood movies. These are real lives, real blood, real bullets, real choices that changed everything forever.
Stay with me until the very last word, because by the end of this video, you will never look at your own life the same way again. You will understand what true courage costs. Let's begin with the first story.
In the frozen, snow-covered mountains near the Chinese border, in a small military outpost hidden among the pines, lived a young soldier named Min Ho. He was only 22 years old, but the regime had already shaped him into a perfect weapon. From the age of 7, he had marched in parades, sung songs praising the dear leader, and learned that the Kim family were gods walking among men. His father worked in a coal mine, coughing up black dust every night. His mother sewed military uniforms until her fingers bled, and his little sister, only 14, dreamed of becoming a dancer, but was taught that dreams belonged only to the leader. Min Ho himself had been conscripted at 17. He was tall, strong, quiet, and the commanders liked him because he never asked questions.
Thoughtful. He believed, or at least he told himself he believed, that North Korea was the greatest country in the world, and that the enemies beyond the border wanted to destroy it. Every morning he woke at 4 o'clock to the sound of propaganda blaring from loudspeakers. Every night he fell asleep to the same voice telling him that the supreme leader was watching over him. But deep inside, in a tiny corner of his heart that he was afraid to admit even to himself, something was cracking. One freezing December night, when the temperature dropped to -30 and the wind howled like a wounded animal through the barbed wire, Min Ho's commander burst into the barracks. The man's face was stone cold, his eyes empty. He grabbed Min Ho by the collar and dragged him into a dimly lit room that smelled of cheap cigarettes and fear. There, on a wooden table, lay a single pistol, black and heavy, and a single sheet of paper with a name written in red ink. Private Min Ho, the commander said slowly, his voice like gravel. Your older brother has been declared an enemy of the state. He was caught listening to foreign radio, South Korean songs, lies about the outside world. You know what that means. Min Ho felt the world tilt. His brother, the same brother who had carried him on his back when he was a child, who had shared his last bowl of rice during the famine years, who had once whispered to him at night that maybe, just maybe, life could be different. Now that brother was a traitor, and the order was clear. Tomorrow at dawn, you will execute him yourself. This is your loyalty test, your family test. Fail it, and your parents, your little sister, they will all disappear into the political prison camps. You know what happens there. Starvation, beatings. No one comes back. The commander slid the pistol across the table until it stopped right in front of Min Ho's trembling hands. Do not disappoint the leader.
That night, Min Ho did not sleep. He sat on the edge of his bunk, staring at the pistol in his lap. His mind raced through every memory. The time his brother taught him how to skip stones across the river, the way his brother had protected him from bullies at school, the secret smile they shared when no one was watching. And now, he was supposed to put a bullet in that same head. The wind outside rattled the windows. Somewhere far away, a dog barked. Min Ho whispered to the darkness, "What kind of world forces a brother to kill a brother?" Tears froze on his cheeks before they could fall. He thought about his parents, his little sister who still believed in him. He thought about the camps, the stories he had heard of people eating grass, of children watching their mothers die, of bodies stacked like firewood. By morning, his eyes were red, his hands steady with a terrible resolve. He had made his choice.
Dawn came gray and merciless. They marched his brother out into the snow-covered yard. The older brother's hands were tied behind his back, his face bruised but his eyes calm. He looked straight at Minho. No hatred, only love. The guards formed a circle. The commander nodded. Minho raised the pistol. His arm shook so badly the barrel waved like a leaf in the wind. His brother spoke softly, so quietly only Minho could hear. "Little brother, if you pull that trigger, the regime wins. They own your soul forever. If you don't, we might both die today. But we will die as free men, not as slaves." Time stopped. The wind held its breath. Minho looked into his brother's eyes, and the same eyes that had once looked at him with pride. And in that single heartbeat, everything shattered. He lowered the gun. The commander screamed. Minho spun around and slammed the pistol into the nearest guard's temple. The man dropped like a stone. Chaos exploded. Shouts, gunfire. Minho grabbed his brother's arm, cut the ropes with a knife from the guard's belt, and they ran. They ran like men possessed. Bullets whistled past their ears, kicking up snow. Searchlights swept the yard. Dogs howled and strained at their leashes. The brothers crashed through the barbed wire, tearing their uniforms, their skin. Blood stained the white snow. They reached the Tumen River, black, icy, deadly. Without hesitation, they plunged in. The water was so cold it burned like fire. Their lungs screamed. Their clothes turned to lead. Bullets splashed around them. One grazed Minho's shoulder, hot pain exploding through his body. But they kept swimming. They kept fighting. On the other side, China. But freedom was still a dream away. For weeks they hid in forests, ate whatever they could find. Roots, stolen corn, even bark. Chinese police patrols passed within meters. North Korean agents offered rewards for their capture. Human traffickers tried to sell them. They walked at night, slept in ditches during the day, whispered stories of their childhood to keep from going mad. Once they were almost caught when a farmer spotted them and called the authorities. They ran again, hearts pounding so hard they thought their ribs would break. But somehow, through pure luck, courage, and the kindness of a few brave strangers who risked their own lives, they reached a safe house run by South Korean missionaries. From there, they were smuggled through Laos, Thailand, and finally flown to Seoul. Today, both brothers live in South Korea under new names. They have jobs, they eat when they are hungry, they speak freely without looking over their shoulders. Minho still has the scar on his shoulder. Every time he touches it, he says the same words that still give me chills. "I chose my family over the dictatorship, and I have never regretted it for a single second. Not one."
But Minho was not the only man forced to make this impossible choice. Our second hero wore a very different uniform. He was not a soldier ordered to kill. He was one of the men who made sure others did not run. His name was Ji Woo, and for 8 long, soul-destroying years, he served in the Ministry of State Security, the feared secret police known as the Boibu. These were the men who decided who lived and who disappeared. Ji Woo had joined because his family was poor, and the uniform meant food, status, and protection. At first, he believed he was protecting the country from traitors, but year after year, the job ate away at his humanity like acid. He arrested entire families whose only crime was owning a smuggled USB stick with South Korean dramas. He watched children cry as their parents were dragged away to the camps. He took bribes from smugglers who brought in rice and medicine, then turned around and confiscated the very same food from starving villagers. He stood guard while people were beaten for listening to K-pop.
He wrote reports that sent grandmothers to prison for singing a forbidden song. Every night he came home to his small apartment in Pyongyang, looked at his sleeping 5-year-old daughter, and felt his soul die a little more. His wife saw the change in his eyes but never dared to speak. The walls had ears even at home. The breaking point came on a cold autumn evening. They brought in a 17-year-old girl caught trying to cross the border. She had been beaten so badly her face was unrecognizable. When Jiwoo pulled back the blanket to identify her, he froze. She looked exactly like his own daughter. Same hair, same delicate features, same terrified eyes. In that moment, something inside him snapped like a dry branch. He saw his little girl in that cell. He saw his wife. He saw himself. That night, he could not eat. He could not sleep. He sat on the floor of his apartment and cried for the first time in years. He realized he was not protecting anything. He was the prison guard of his own country. He was the chain. And he decided right there that he would break it. For 3 agonizing months, Ji-woo planned in secret. He stole a spare uniform. He forged travel papers. He memorized patrol schedules. He hid tiny amounts of money and food. Every day he smiled at his colleagues, laughed at their jokes, and inside he was screaming. One mistake and his entire family would be executed in public. The fear was constant, like a knife at his throat. Then came the perfect night, pouring rain, thunder, low visibility. August. Ji-woo was on duty at a remote border post. He disabled the alarm system with a screwdriver and a prayer. He unlocked the heavy iron gate himself, and he ran. The moment the gate clicked shut behind him, the alarm still went off somehow. Sirens screamed, helicopters thundered into the sky, jeeps roared down muddy roads, guards fired wildly into the darkness. Ji-woo ran through the mountains for 14 straight hours. Rain lashed his face. Mud sucked at his boots. His lungs burned. His legs turned to rubber. He hid in ditches when searchlights passed. He ate grass and drank from puddles. At one point, a patrol came so close he could hear their breathing and smell their cigarettes. He lay in the mud pretending to be a corpse until they moved on. When Chinese border guards finally caught him at the very last river crossing, they were about to send him back, straight into the hands of the Boweeboo and certain death. But at that exact moment, a South Korean missionary who had been waiting on the other side stepped forward with documents and money. He claimed Ji-woo was a relative. The guards, bribed and tired, looked the other way. Ji-woo crossed into freedom. Months later, through a dangerous underground network, his wife and daughter were smuggled out too. Today, Ji-woo lives in Seoul with his family. He works every day helping other defectors find their way to safety. He speaks at universities. He tells his story without shame. And every single morning when he wakes up next to his daughter, now safe and smiling, he says the same quiet sentence. I spent years guarding the biggest prison on earth until I realized I was the one wearing the chains.
2 completely different men. One, a young soldier forced to point a gun at his own brother. The other, a secret policeman who had spent years sending people to hell. Both faced the same question that the North Korean regime asks every single citizen every single day of their lives. Will you serve the dictatorship and keep your body alive while your soul dies? Or will you choose your family, your humanity, and run toward freedom, even if it costs you everything? Both men chose the second path. Both paid a terrible price: blood, terror, years of hiding, the constant fear that their loved ones would be punished. But both won. Both are free. And these stories are not just about North Korea. They are about every one of us. Because every single day, in smaller ways, we face our own versions of this choice. Stay silent when you see injustice at work. Stay comfortable in a toxic relationship. Stay trapped in fear of what people will say. Or stand up. Speak out. Choose what is right even when it is hard. Freedom is never handed to you on a silver plate. It is taken. It is fought for. It is run toward even when bullets are flying and the ice is cracking under your feet. Minho and Ji-woo proved that no regime, no matter how powerful, can own a human heart that decides to be free. So if you are watching this right now and you feel trapped, in a job that kills your dreams, in a life that feels like a cage, in fear of tomorrow, remember these 2 men. Remember the soldier who lowered the gun. Remember the policeman who opened the gate for himself. Choose your family. Choose your freedom. Choose life. Because the border to freedom is not a river or a fence. It is a decision inside your own heart. If this video moved you, even a little, do what real people do. Hit the like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, share it with someone who needs to hear that they are not alone. The world needs more people who choose the border to freedom instead of the comfort of chains. Until next time, Stay strong, stay human, never stop running toward the light.